Welcome back. I absolutely love Windows 365 Cloud PC. I use this every single day in my personal life. I use the business edition. And so this video today is going to be all about how to get this set up, properly configured. I'm going to show you how to buy a license all the way through end user experience. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do here is check out our prerequisites. So with an Azure Active Directory, we're going to start with devices and then device settings. And there's a few things we want to check here. First off, users may join devices to Azure AD. That must be selected to all. If it's set to none, then when a user tries to log into Cloud PC, it won't work. They have to be able to have permissions to join it to Azure AD. That's just the way it works. Also, they cannot have MFA required to join those devices with Azure AD. Otherwise, it'll break Cloud PC. And then maximum number of devices per user, make sure that's set high enough so when you start to allocate Cloud PCs to users, they can obviously access it. So those three things is what I want to check first. The second thing I want to do is I want to come back to Azure Active Directory and I want to set my MDM provider. Now, I want to use Microsoft Intune as my MDM provider, meaning when that Cloud PC is provisioned and joined to Azure Active Directory, Microsoft Intune will manage it and take over configuration and allows me to go through and configure everything. And so I'm going to have my MDM user scope set to all. Now, of course, that is optional, right? You don't have to have Intune be the MDM. You could even turn that off as well. And so you could just set that to none and that turns it off. Now, the other thing I want to show you is something I've already done. Now, I've already bought a license and provisioned a Cloud PC. When you do that, it automatically creates a service account called Windows 365 BPRT, permanent user, in Azure Active Directory. Do not touch this. Do not modify it. Do not change permissions. Do not delete it. Otherwise, you will break Windows 365. So just be aware that this service account does get created. Okay, at this point, we're ready to rock and roll. So now let's go ahead and get started with this. What do we do next? Well, the thing that we want to do next is go look at the documentation. And I'll put a link in the video description for how to do this. But what we want to do next is go out and buy the appropriate license. So we're going to go over to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And this is just admin.microsoft365.com. And I want to show you what I currently have. Now, this is my personal environment. I have a Microsoft 365 E5 license. And you can see I've already bought a Windows 365 Business Cloud PC license. Now, I actually canceled that because I want to get a VM that's a little bit bigger. And so we're going to go down to Purchase Services under Billing, and we're going to do a search here for Windows 365, and we're going to purchase Windows 365 Business. Now, I'm not going to do with hybrid benefit because I don't have complex licensing requirements, and I'm not going to do it with Enterprise because I don't have complex requirements requiring enterprise level configuration. I'll come back to this in a few minutes. So under Windows 365 Business, I'm going to click on Details. And this is where you get to choose your specs of that virtual machine. So I actually want to do something a little beefy. So I'm going to choose 4 vCPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage at $70 per month. What we're going to do is come up here to Select Plan, and we're going to choose that. So 4 vCPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs. I'm going to choose one. I'm going to buy it at $70 per month. So we're going to click on Buy. Doing this in real time here. And then we're going to click on Place Order. Back on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center homepage, under Billing, we're going to click on Licenses to verify that that license was purchased successfully, which it was. There it is. Now, this may not immediately show. You may have to wait a few moments or click Refresh for it to show. And so there's my license. So now we're going to assign it to an end user. So we're going to click on Assign Licenses. And we're going to choose my only user in the environment. And we're going to make sure that Windows 365 Business in that spec is checked. And then we're going to click on Assign. Perfect. It is now assigned. Okay, so before we notify users that they can log into their cloud PC and send instructions and all of that, we want to do a little bit of configuration first. So we're going to open up a new browser tab and just navigate to cloudpc.microsoft.com, which redirects to windows365.microsoft.com. And there's my cloud PC. I assign the license to myself. Give it a little bit of time for this to populate. It might take an hour or two, but that's my cloud PC. At this point, I could technically log into it and start using it. I don't want to just yet. I'm going to click on your organization's cloud PCs, which if I'm an admin, I can see this. And here's my end user is not going to assign those licenses and do all that stuff. But I'm going to click on Update Organization Settings. This is pretty important because I want to adjust my account type for my users. Now, I mean, we all have a debate around standard user versus local administrator. At the end of the day, I'm a security guy. I'm going to go with standard user, right? I don't want to give my users local admin rights on their cloud PCs. They're going to come to me if they need to install apps, and I'll push it out with Intune or Microsoft Endpoint Manager. I'm also going to choose Windows 11. I could revert back to Windows 10 for those PCs if I wanted to. So I'm just going to make sure that this is properly configured. Once I do that, we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to go back to my cloud PCs. And there's a couple things here. Now, I'm going to click on the gear icon. And so as an end user, I can sign into this web page. I can reboot or restart my cloud PC. I can reset it back to factory defaults, which is actually really nice. Let's say I dork something up in the PC, in the cloud PC, I can revert it back to factory defaults. I can rename it. In fact, let's do that now. I'm just going to call this personal cloud PC. There it is. Perfect. I can get access to troubleshoot information here as well. Maybe we'll do another video on this. And then I can see system information, a little bit about that device. So I can see the host name of that cloud PC, the friendly name, and then what license. And of course, last sign-in time. Great. There's a couple different ways actually, you can access your cloud PC. You can open in a browser, which is nice, it's convenient, but you can also download the remote desktop client for Cloud PC, and you can see it works on various operating systems here, and use that. I prefer the remote desktop client for a few reasons, right? When you think about like Teams AV redirection, when you think about performance, there's things that the client does that the website over HTTPS just can't do. And go look at the documentation. You can learn more about what I'm talking about. I can download that and I can click on Get Subscription URL, copy that into the client, and away I go. I actually use this on my iPad, and I also use it on my Mac in addition to my Windows computer. So that's just my personal preference. For today's video though, let's go ahead and sign in with the web browser. So we're just going to click on Open in Browser. It's going to launch a new tab, and we're going to start accessing my cloud PC. Now, I've got some settings here as an end user I can configure. And so sure, I want to have print to redirection, so I can print stuff. I want microphone and clipboard redirection because that's handy. If I need to use an alternate keyboard layout, I can choose that as well, which is very nice. But we're just going to go ahead and click on Connect and assume the defaults. Now, something you should know is that Cloud PC and even Azure Virtual Desktop does not use 3389 RDP. It's special. And maybe we'll do a video on that someday. So just kind of keep that in your back pocket. It auto-populates with my credentials, so let's go ahead and sign in. I've already MFA'd into this website, so that's why I'm not being prompted for MFA. And here's my cloud PC, so we'll give this a few moments here to launch. Now, because this is the first time I'm accessing it, there's obviously some provisioning that's happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back to it when it's finished. And we're back. That took about 3 minutes or so and immediately landed on my desktop here with the start menu open. Great. So I can start using my cloud PC. A couple things here I just want to point out. You can collapse this toolbar at the top, so that's kind of nice. I do have a gear icon with some information here. I can also choose device redirection, which is nice. And I got some shortcut keys, which is actually pretty useful. I use these all the time. The other thing I love about using this in the web browser window is making it full screen. So I could just click on the full screen icon. It makes it full screen. There you go, right? But this is my cloud PC. We're ready to rock and roll. In fact, just for fun here, let's just pull up Task Manager. And we should be able to see the specs there. So there's the specs. Very nice. And I have Office set up, which I'll show you here in a second, to be pushed out with Intune. So that automatically got pushed out. Teams got pushed out. And then at some point, Defender for Endpoint will also be pushed out as well. In fact, it might already be started. Not yet. Yeah, I don't see Windows Defender ATP yet. So oh, there it is. So look at that. It automatically got onboarded to Defender for Endpoint. So I am ready to rock and roll and start using my cloud PC. Let's transition over to Microsoft Endpoint Manager. I mentioned before my MDM provider is set to Microsoft Intune, and so I can manage cloud PC just like any other Windows computer. And so here you can see my, I got two because I've bought 2 licenses, but here I can see my cloud PC. They were just provisioned, and I could do things with it just like I could with any other device managed by Intune. So that's pretty nice. If you click on Endpoint Security, again, because it's a Windows computer, I can assign policies to it to configure Defender Antivirus and Defender Firewall and ASR rules and set up EDR for Defender for Endpoint, device compliance. I have the power to do all of these different things just like I would with any other Windows computer. So this could be a prerequisite depending on who you are. In your environment, you may want to, before you give users access to their cloud PC, just go through and configure Intune with some of these profiles and policies so you can properly secure the cloud PC, right? And see my other videos on how to do that with Endpoint Manager and Microsoft Intune. Okay, so let's now toggle over to the Azure portal and let's talk a little bit about the settings that we checked in the prereqs. All right, so back in Azure Active Directory, let's go to Devices, and then we're going to click on Device Settings. And remember these settings that we checked before? You can, once all the cloud PCs have been provisioned, you can set users may join devices to Azure AD to none. I would do so at your own risk, however. But if you are security conscious, you can select that. That might break a few things in Cloud PC, like if you need to, re-provision a device, or you hire a new user and they need to provision a Cloud PC, or you do a reset, that could break that, right? The other thing here is require MFA to register or join devices with Azure AD. You can set that back to yes once all of your Cloud PCs have been provisioned and joined to Azure AD. And so those might be some post-deployment things I might want to do. Let's go back to my users and let's pull up that service account we talked about earlier. If I delete this service account, and this is straight out of the documentation, if I delete it or this gets modified, there's a token that's associated with it. So if I delete this and it gets recreated, you have to wait about 12 hours for that token to refresh. So maybe do this, overnight or on the weekend if you have to delete it. But I wouldn't recommend doing so because that will break the environment. We talked about MFA already, and the other thing you might want to consider is checking the documentation periodically. I'll put a link in the video description to this, but here's some of the features that are currently in development as of December 9th, 2021. So as those get added, they will be added to the roadmap and also here. So you might just want to, pay attention to this page. The other thing is click on what's new, and this will help you understand with the different releases in the service, what's been fixed, what's been added. So that is kind of nice, right? So, recently here, they now support Windows 11 for any newly created cloud PCs. That was one reason why I wanted to do this video was I created my cloud PC when it first, the feature first came out, back earlier this fall. It was Windows 10. So I wanted to delete it and provision a new one. So I had Windows 11. and you can go through the history here. So kind of cool, right? So folks, this is Windows 365 Business and Cloud PC. I love it. I'll do a video at some point showing you why I love it and all the different things I do with it. Because you're probably wondering, well, Matt, you have a laptop. Why are you using Cloud PC? There's a few reasons why, and I'll show you that in another video. I know we went over time here, but I appreciate you sticking around, and we'll see you all in the next video. Give me a thumbs up. That really does help me if you liked the video. And if you didn't like it, give me feedback. All right, folks, take care. See you in the next video.